Let's bring you updates from Afghanistan. The capture of Afghanistan's capital city of Kabul by the Taliban on 15th August 2021 was the culmination of a military offensive which began in May 2021. The city's capture took place after President Ashraf Ghani fled the country and prompted an international airlift of fleeing civilians. The Taliban had swept through Afghanistan, taking most of its 34 Afghan provincial capitals in about 9 days. We have details in this report.
The 2021 Taliban offensive by the insurgent group and other allied militants against the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan led to the fall of the republic and marks the end of the nearly 20-year-old war in Afghanistan that had begun following the United States invasion of the country. The offensive began on the 1st of May 2021, coinciding with the withdrawal of United States troops from Afghanistan. In the first 3 months of the offensive, the Taliban made significant territorial gains in the countryside, increasing the number of districts of Afghanistan it controlled from 73 to 223. On the 6th of August, the Taliban launched an assault on the provinces of Afghanistan, with most of the towns surrendering without a fight. This culminated with victories in week-long battles in major cities. On 15th of August, President Ashraf Ghani fled the country and the Taliban took over the Afghan capital Kabul without resistance. The victory had widespread domestic and international ramifications regarding human rights and the proliferation of terrorism. Since the Taliban swept back to power in Afghanistan, they have been enforcing their fundamentalist interpretation of Islam. In spite of trying to rebrand as more moderate, the group has imposed a slew of instructions that revoke the liberties that Afghan women have won through a history of struggle and activism and have unraveled the gains made over the decades. The Taliban have continued to seek international recognition as well as ways to overcome the trust deficit that they recognize exists between them and the international community. But experts say ultimately, they must decide on whether to govern according to the needs and rights of the diverse Afghan population, or whether to rule on the basis of a narrow ideology and even narrower ethnic base. Many warn that to abandon the Afghan people now would be a historic mistake, a mistake that has been made before with tragic consequences.
And Global Affairs analyst Sam Fateh joins me now to speak about this. Good to have you join us.
My pleasure.
So when you look at all that played out in Afghanistan in August and up till now, where does all of these developments stand in history?
You know, what is happening here is that I believe that the international community, one, must continue to engage the Afghan government. Totally ignoring the Afghan government would be a disastrous recipe. Now, mind you, that the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan was very, very premature, not thought through like they should, not planned like they should, and that put Afghanistan back to the hands of the very people that they tried to take it away from in the first place. So the international community must continue to engage them, and they must use diplomatic channels to achieve their goals. And it is time for them to build relations with Afghanistan. And the leverage that they have here is not a military one, it's not an intelligence one, it's not a security one. Afghanistan's economy needs to be revived. Taliban government knows that the Afghan economy needs to be strong. So that is where the international community would have leverage in terms of pledging support and helping them restructure their economy.
But how possible is that engagement when the Taliban continues to violate the two conditions that the West has said you have to meet these conditions before we engage? And one of them is a crackdown on women's rights, and the other is a crackdown on democratic institutions. We see that continues to happen. So how easy will that engagement be?
They need to understand that the local politics, the culture, the way of life, the thinking of the people. You know, the Afghan government doesn't get its legitimacy and its powers is not derived from the West. Its legitimacy and its powers is derived, like in any, whether for any government, even in a dictatorship, you have legitimacy is derived from your people. So they understand that, they know that, and to continue having the support of their people, they are going to play along on the lines of using what I call screwed Islamic jurisprudence and theology in order to maintain a stronghold. I mean, we are seeing that in places like Saudi Arabia. I mean, even where MBS is facing challenges with some of its modernization programs, because culturally, what they are known and how they grab power and how they play politics is what the Afghan government is also trying to do. Therefore, if that is the case, and noting the fact that how the Taliban were able to take over Afghanistan, they went to the rural people and said, "Look, the Americans are going to go. We're going to take over. Support us. Here's what we can give you." That's the way they play their politics. Now, realizing and knowing this means that if they completely ignore Afghanistan because they are not agreeing to some of the things that they are demanding, the West is demanding, Afghanistan is going to turn to Russia, and they will turn to China, and these two countries could barely care about any human rights concerns. What they care about and what they will focus on is their national interest, regardless to whose detriment in Afghanistan that is going to be.
And we'll continue to watch out for this constructive diplomatic engagement and see if the West will step up. Thank you so much for your thought on this, Sam Fati.
My pleasure.